All right. Next, what are we going to have? Let's see. What's my topic number 2? Music. Okay, here we go. Scott, you're going to talk to us about Non Fannie Mae HARP Refinance Program, and it's coming soon. Is that what you're going to tell us? Okay, so first of all, that's a mouthful. Okay, Non Fannie Mae HARP Refinance Program. HARP-like.
Okay, there's several.
Should I say
versions
HARP-like?
of this. There's HARP 3.0. There is Non-GSE Streamline Program.
Government sponsored agency.
Choose your.
You guys getting on this?
Your acronym.
So what are you talking about?
What are you talking
about?
What are you talking about, Wilis?
We talked about this. We talked about this early last year because in February Obama came out and basically said so the HARP program, the underwater refinance program,
right?
That the
home affordable refinance program,
yeah,
right? Okay.
Yeah. So your lender has the ability to basically, without any income or any appraisal or any proof of anything other than the fact that you're making your payments on time, they have the ability to lower your interest rate. It's like a streamline refinance, which means there's no paperwork, no qualifying.
And the thought is that with a lower payment, people stay in their house and stick it out and make that payment.
Prevention strategy, essentially. So that was available for your existing servicer.
Did it work?
Not really.
Well, yes and no. The reason
sounds like a blind date.
Yeah, the reason it didn't work is because the banks were able to handle that as well as they were able to handle the fact that so many people stopped making their payments.
So they couldn't.
Which is not well.
Yeah.
Right, which is they couldn't. So then what happened is stage 2 of that was that anybody could refinance your loan if you were upside down, and that was the HARP 2.0 part of it, where any lender could refinance regardless of whether they were servicing. The challenge with that program is that you have to qualify for a full-blown refinance. You have to have all your income documentation, all your assets. You have to have an appraisal. You have to put it into the computer, and the computer, depending on what time of the day it is, what day of the week, will chunk out an approval and say yes or no. No, seriously.
No, it's very random.
It's very, very random.
I had a girlfriend like that once.
I was just going to say we're 46 minutes in.
Yeah.
It's missed a couple of opportunities.
New
I'm
record.
surprised he didn't take them.
I'm busy.
So the administration is kind of touting these, refinance applications have increased 237% in Nevada because 237% of Nevada real estate is upside down. And
Can you have 237% upside down?
in Nevada, you can. So that's the prequel to all of this. So back in February, Obama basically said, "Listen, because this program, you could only do it if Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac owned your mortgage. So you go to the Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac website, you enter in your address, and if Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac owns your mortgage, then you were eligible for this. So the challenge is it excluded everybody that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac didn't own their mortge.
That's discrimination.
That's a lot of people.
You can't exclude people in America.
So Obama basically came out, and we've got an entire segment that's a rant about why this isn't a good idea. We're not going to cover that in this segment.
Thank God.
But basically, Congress said, no, there's no way. We're not going to do that, because essentially what you're doing is you're allowing the early payoff of performing assets. So people are making their payments and investors are collecting payments, and you're allowing them to go in and have all of those debts be assumed by FHA, which means the government controls more of this stuff and blah, blah, blah. So in February, Obama basically said, we need to make this available to more people. And Congress said, no, that's just not going to work. Well, he's back at it again. And the White House released the White House released a big announcement last week. There was a big press release, and he's basically pushing for Congress, and he's going around the country lobbying for this, and he wants to do two things. He wants to make it available to any mortgage, regardless of whether Fannie or Freddie Mac own it. So any mortgage holder can do it. And he also wants to streamline the process. So what servicers have the ability to do, which is just like an FHA Streamline Refinance, which is an amazing program. We just make sure that you made your payments on time for the last 12 months. And if you have, you can get the lower rate. No income requirements,
stubs,
no
tax
appraisal,
returns, yeah.
no pay stubs, nothing. You made your payments on time, you can get today's rate. So that's what a Streamline is. Obama administration is basically asking that all HARP programs be treated this way. All you have to prove is that you've made your payments on time, so it doesn't matter how far upside down you are. It doesn't matter if you have the income or whatever. They're going to measure your ability to pay. And again, this is a foreclosure prevention tactic. And I think this is a really, really good idea. I think it would prevent a ton of foreclosures. But there's that whole. All of these are. There's a really, really deep-rooted investor side of this. It's bad for the industry because people who have invested in mortgage-backed securities, you're going to pay off. All of their investments. They're the only ones that are still making a little bit of money with people making their payments. You're going to take all of those and pay all of those off and move all of that money someplace else. And then there's still not a guarantee that. Well, we saw this with loan modifications, and we talked about this. As soon as you reduce your interest rate and your payments are lowered by a couple $100, you realize that you still owe a quarter of what your home is worth, a quarter of what you owe,
Right.
And no,
Ticks you off.
That's backwards.
This as, Scott, this is another. It's a great idea, but it's another Band-Aid. And I'm a big fan of just ripping it off, taking your lumps, and it's going to be very painful. It's going to be a painful process. The healing is going to take a while, but it's going to begin that healing process sooner.
There's no way the government's going to let that happen.
I don't know. It's an election year. There's a lot of
they're
people
already
with-
letting it happen. They just want to let it happen easier and for more people.
What does this mean to Fred and Ethel homeowner?
Well, this is what I see.
What should they do?
Okay, you either fall
Continue
in
to
one
make your
of
payments
three,
on time.
Yeah, continue to make your payments, but you fall in one of three boxes. You're either owned by Freddie and Fannie, which would be HARP, or you have a government loan, so VA, FHA, so you're able to do those streamlines, or you fit in the other box. And this is the other box. This program is the one that's really geared towards this other box where you aren't owned by either of these.
Right.
Keep making your payments and really think about if you were able to refinance, do you still want to be in an investment have property of a asset that's not performing?
But isn't it just instant savings, really? I mean, I'm instantly saving money because I can just lower my rate without it costing anything. Just lower my rate.
Yeah, but what that does is that there's an investor that you're making payments to.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody's holding that note and somebody's collecting those payments, and that's an investment that they made into the economy, into the system. They lent money to somebody. So what you now have is you have Big Brother coming in and saying we're going to take all of that away from you. And we're going to let the government, because this is probably going to be FHA backed.
Yeah.
So
And
that
they're
means
already in trouble with it.
so that means the government's now going to be managing all of the housing market, which they already pretty much are.
They're pretty much Fannie and Freddie.
Damn.
They're FHA and VA and USDA. This is really the only
USDA. That's one of my favorites.
sector. But I mean,
it's prime.
If you want to think about it, if they're now going to making all these losses because they no longer have these performing assets, what do they do when their bottom line or their profits shrink? They're going to have to make up for it somewhere. So what I see possibly doing is mortgages will probably become more expensive. So it's going to be a cycle.
They're definitely going to be more expensive, and it's also taxpayer backed.
Yeah.
So all of these programs are paid for by the taxpayers. So the next thing you're going to have is the government's going to say, well, we bailed you out, so now you have to help preserve this program, and so taxes are going to go
Read
up.
my lips. No new taxes.
No new HARP programs.
All right. So did you break it down, Scott?
Yeah. So I will break it down.
Well, go for it.
Basically, the administration is making a second push in honestly, the timing of this is absolutely uncanny. I think it's election year propaganda. I think it sounds fantastic. It's hard to find challenges with it if you're a distressed homeowner, but I just don't think that the math works out on it. But you're going to hear a lot about it in the news, and there's going to be a lot of hoopla, and there's going to be more class warfare and economic division amongst politicians fighting for this program.